Kennedy's alarming prescription for bird flu on poultry farms. The health secretary has suggested allowing the virus to spread so as to identify birds that may be immune. Such an experiment would be disastrous, scientists say. This isn't in quotes, so I assume what the scientists actually did upon hearing this was shoot themselves. And they just didn't want to transcribe that. Open quotes, gunshot noise, close quotes, sent scientists. It's so cool how it's illegal to criticize the Trump administration. RFK Jr., the nation's top health official, has an unorthodox idea for tackling the bird flu bedeviling U.S. poultry farms. Let the virus rip. The upshot is that this could solve climate change. That is true. This attitude towards epidemiology would, if allowed to run rampant for long enough, solve climate change in the sense that there would no longer be any anthropogenic anything. That's true. Why is the bird flu only in the U.S.? It's not. Actually, there's a lot of it in Canada. He said this recently on Fox News.
Over the weekend, I sat down with Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr. at a steak and shake in Florida.
He said that in this interview? Did I miss that? In the steak and shake ad?
Vitamin A.
Well, he mentioned that. Yeah.
Which, there are many studies, some showing 87% of effectiveness of vitamin A.
You have made, I listen to people talk about
in wild populations of birds, and particularly mallards, and that's what infects the domestic flocks. And so you'll never get rid of it, and it doesn't appear to hurt wild birds.
Healthiest man. What? Oh, okay, this is clearly the point. Hold on.
In the country. What do you think needs to be done to eradicate that? And what do we do short term? What do we do long term? In other words, do we import eggs? Do we import chickens? Do we have to wipe out the population that might be infected by this?
No, first of all, avian flu will never be eradicated. It is endemic in wild populations of birds, and particularly mallards, and that's what infects the domestic flocks. And so you'll never get rid of it, and it doesn't appear to hurt wild birds. They have some kind of immunity.
Oh.
And the strategy, the White House, all of my agencies have advised against vaccination of birds. Because if you vaccinate with a leaky vaccine, in other words, a vaccine that does not provide sterilizing immunity, that does not absolutely protect against the disease, you turn those flocks into mutation factories. They're teaching the organism how to mutate. And it destabilizes it, and it's much more likely to jump to animals if you do that.
Right.
So all of my agency heads from NIH, CDC, and FDA had all said we should not be vaccinating. It's dangerous for human beings to vaccinate the birds. The question is, should you cull those flocks? Most of our scientists are against the culling operation.
What? Who? Everyone's in favor of the culling. Dude, there are so many obviously evil things the Trump administration does and advocates for that I can explain. And RFK Jr. is consistently beyond my explanation. It's just pure death cult shit, conspiracy buy-ins to try to make the population stupider and reward and incentivize political participation from certain kinds of people. It's not like there's no greater plan. It's literally just like, whatever, let him cook. People are going to die anyway. He's a crazy person. He is a crazy person. He is. He is genuinely mentally unwell. It's insane.
They think that we should be testing therapeutics on those flocks. They should isolate them. You should let the disease go through them and identify the birds that survive, which are the birds that probably have a genetic inclination for immunity. And those should be the birds that we breed like the wild population.
Right.
Right now, the White House strategy is to repopulate those farms that have been depopulated. We've killed 166 million chickens. Wow. That's why we have an egg crisis. And the disease is not passed through food. So you cannot get it as
Does he realize letting it spread would also let it mutate? I don't know. I'm sorry, wait. I think I just blanked out in that very last sentence.
killed 166 million chickens. Wow. That's why we have an egg crisis. And the disease is not passed through food. So you cannot get it, as far as we know, you cannot get it from an egg or milk or meat from an infected animal. The White House strategy now, and Brooke Rollins, who runs USDA, and I am all on board with this.
Again, it's like there's a bunch of stuff you can explain. They want to deliberately cause a recession to consolidate wealth in the hands of the oligarchs. They want to stoke all these fears and hurt all these people because it like normalizes a political system that allows them to do those things. But for this, it's genuinely just like, well, also they enjoy death, like personally, like leaving aside all of the other evil shit and the incompetence. There's also just an element of this, which is wanton death, like in a comic book, like Nurgle shit, but not even as a joke, right? It's not even like, oh, haha, we're overstating the case or whatever. It's like, no, it just seems like an element of this is legitimately like they just like the idea of lots of people dying for no reason, even if it hurts their bottom line.
We should armor the domestic populations to insulate them from wild infiltration. This is how these birds are getting infected. A wild mallard, most of them are in open air poultry farms. Or mallard will fly in to eat some of the corn, and that infected mallard will infect the flock. And so I think that is the best strategy, and also to intensively test therapeutic drugs on those flocks so that, for example, you put a therapy in half the population, and if that half that is treated survives, now you have a drug that potentially is useful in human beings to treat avian flu. That's what we should be doing.
You do work for a boss. Although he is getting help.
Okay. All right. Mr. Kennedy does not have jurisdiction over farms, but Brooke Rollins, the agriculture secretary, also has voiced support for the notion. There are some farmers that are out there that are willing to really try this on a pilot as we build the safe perimeter around them to see if there is a way forward with immunity, Ms. Rollins told Fox News last month. Them farmers try. Dude, this isn't the farmers I'm worried about. Yet veterinary scientists said letting the virus sweep through poultry flocks unchecked would be inhumane and dangerous and have enormous economic consequences. That's a really terrible idea for any one of a number of reasons, said Dr. Gail Hansen, a former state veterinarian for Kansas, before shooting himself in the mouth. Since January 2022, there have been more than 1,600 outbreaks reported on farms and backyard flocks occurring in every state. More than 166 million birds have been affected. Every infection is another opportunity for the virus, called H5N1, to evolve in a more virulent form. Geneticists have been tracking its mutations closely. So far, the virus has not developed the ability to spread among people. But if H5N1 were allowed to run through a flock of 5 million birds, that's literally 5 million chances for the virus to replicate or to mutate, Dr. Hansen said. Are we going to have to relearn crop rotation too? I think about that tweet so often. That might be the number one tweet that I think about, which is me making fun of crop rotation setting human agriculture back 4,000 years. Ha ha. Brian thinks you have to make the beans take turns. Like that lives in my head. This literally happened in the 19th century South. I'd believe it. Strengthening biosecurity on farms, preventing the virus from entering their premises, or halting its spread with stringent cleaning and use of protective gear. Poultry farmers call the authorities as soon as they spot signs of illness or death. If the tests turn up positive for bird flu, they are reimbursed for killing the rest of the flock before the virus spreads any farther. Grim business, huh? So is there a possibility for another pandemic? Yeah, and it seems like RFK Jr. and the Secretary of Agriculture are increasing the likelihood of it happening. Bird flu being transmissible to humans would be really, 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 really bad. Or transmissible between humans, I should say. Not to humans, between humans. Not to throw gasoline on the fire. Yeah, prions. Bulk elk with late-stage chronic wasting disease, which is always fatal and has no cure. Yes, chronic wasting disease, the neurodegenerative, yeah, the prions thing, right? This is the prions? Zombie deer disease. Yeesh. It's been spreading everywhere. Prions, not prions? Okay, prions. We must construct additional prions. Oh. Well, I'm sure the administration has a plan for that. I trust them. On prion disease is like turbo demon cancer. Isn't it like a protein is misfolded, and if you consume it and it lands in the wrong place in your body, all the other proteins that get built off of it convince themselves to fold the wrong way, and it creates like a, yeah, your body just goes wrong, like your shit unravels basically. It seems kind of like the biological or neurological equivalent of radiation damage, where you can get flashed with radiation and it doesn't like necessarily burn you. It's more just like all of your cells and proteins and DNA unwind and you die from like a just wide range of things going wrong really quickly. It can burn, yeah, it can burn you too if it wants to, you know. It has the option to. Gaslights your damn proteins. They gaslighted my motherfucking proteins. U.S. and Israel to hold high-level Iran consultations next week. Can we hold off just 4 more years so that I'm 35 and no longer eligible for the draft or something? I don't know.